Carlin Bardsley here with the man who needs no introduction anywhere in the civilized world, the world's most dangerous man, the UFC Hall of Famer, Ken Shamrock. Ken, you've always been very outspoken on UFC's treatment of their fighters and treatment of fighters in their post-career times. Chris Leben made a very incendiary tweet about saying that he'd wish he'd driven a truck and at least then he'd have some insurance. And of course, that set off a firestorm of controversy. Nate Quarry spoke out on that. Your brother Frank Shamrock spoke out on that. What is your view on Chris Leben's thoughts on how the UFC is treating him in the twilight of his career?
Well, I think we've been down this road, 100 times over again. I remember when I first started saying something about 10, 11 years ago, and everybody was basically against me. But I saw something then, and I saw what was going to happen. And you see it was happening now. It was hidden then. Now it's exposed. A lot of fighters are now coming to the end of their careers, and you're starting to see how he treats them. I was saying that, 10, 11 years ago about the way he was treating me. And it just felt like it was so disrespectful the way they get rid of their fighters. When they lose or when they usually come towards the end of their career, it's almost like a horse with a broken leg. Like you want to take him out and I guarantee you when Dana hears this, he'd say, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. Take him out in the pasture and shoot him in the head because they're just dead weight. And that's the way I think that they really think about athletes who have made them so much money, but when they come to the end of their career, they've got no use for them. And I think that's real disrespectful, man, because a lot of people say, well, if you didn't do it, there'd be another fighter. Well, I beg to differ because there's a lot of fighters out right there now, and not too many of them have the characters that these guys have. It takes character, you have to be good, and you have to have this certain quality to draw fans. Not everybody can do it. So there are certain guys like Randy Couture and Tito Ortiz, and the list goes on and on, that have the qualities of being able to draw people in. And when they get at the end of their career, it's hard for them to say, I'm done or I'm finished, because we've never had to say that before. So personally, my opinion, they got the wrong guy handling the fighters. Dana White does not be handling the fighters because he has no respect for them. He does when they're making him money, or he pretends to think that they do because he doesn't. And then when their careers are over, he just wants to show them that, you know what, you're not in charge, I am. I don't care how popular you are, I'm the man. So he's the wrong guy to handle fighters when they come to the end of their career. They need to get somebody in there that knows how to deal with people, knows how to get these fighters to understand that they're coming to the end of their career and that they need to let it go, because we don't have an off switch. It's always been on. That's why we're able to accomplish what we accomplish. There is no quit and give up in us. But there has to be somebody out there that'll be able to talk to these guys and go, you had a great career. You're always going to be remembered here as a great fighter, and we're always going to treat you with respect. But you're getting to a point to where you're risking your health. I know you don't see it, and I know the fans still love you and want to see you in there. But we've got to start thinking and planning about you retiring. I don't want to just throw you out in the street and say you're done and spit on you. What I'd like to do is be able to go, okay, let's plan. This is your last fight. We're going to get you a good payday. We're going to send you off on a chariot, and everybody cheering and saying great job. And we're going to work your way out because, it's getting, you lost your last 5 fights without saying you're used, you're beat up, you're no good anymore, you lost your last 6 fights, you're a scumbag, get out. I mean, I just think that they need to handle the fighters. The treatment of fighters is wrong, especially guys that have made your organization, carried your organization, and then you treat them that way, and then fight or pay. I'm sorry, but I think everybody realizes now what I've been saying for 10 years, that they are ripping these fighters off.
And now we're starting to see guys at the top speaking out as well. We've just seen George St Pierre, the UFC's biggest star, their biggest pay-per-view draw, take an extended hiatus. What message do you think that sends when a guy of George St Pierre's caliber is willing to walk away for a while? And what did you think of Dana White's reaction to that?
Well, Dana White's reaction to, any fighter who goes and says, hey, I'd like to get more money, I'm winning fights, he just blows up. The treatment of St Pierre when the use of steroids came up, he didn't even back him up. He didn't even try to take care of his fighter. He didn't try to curve the media from trying to take a shot at him. He just left him out there hanging. And it's sad because, this organization and this era that we live in, I mean, a lot of stuff goes on within that fighting and training arena. George St Pierre is absolutely no different than 90% of the fighters out there, including the people that are in the office, including the people that are on top. They're all abusing it, period. And I'm not saying St Pierre was on or not on, because I don't know. I think he's a great fighter. I think he trains hard. I think he works hard. And I think he can put on that kind of size if he wants to naturally. That's up to him. He's a great athlete. He's been gifted with great features. If he says he's not on, he's not on. I believe him. But it's not for me to judge that, and it's not for Dana to judge that. It's not for Dana to say, well, what do you guys think? You think he is or isn't? And you got the same thing with Chris Cyborg. Oh, what do you guys think? Is she or isn't she? It's like, who has the right to do that? How do you know?
And you made some comments on the steroid testing issue on Inside MMA on Access TV. And if I heard you correctly, you are for more enhanced testing within the sport. Blood testing, random blood testing, carbon isotope testing, that kind of thing?
I'm for it if they test everybody. Yeah. Absolute everybody. Not guys that are making money. Because he's used the guys that are title fights or champions that are bringing in money. Those are the guys they test. It's a money business thing. If they're going to do this thing right, they need to start at the bottom and work their way up. Because it teaches guys that are coming up that they can't cheat to get there. Because once they get there, they'll find a way to cheat around the testing. We've been doing this for, 100 years? Where people have been using some sort of substance for athletics. And yet every single year we find a new way to get around it. This is medical science that's getting better every year. And you're always able to cheat on it. Okay? Now, if I tell you, hey, buddy, I'm going to test you on June 18th. Just before the fight, we're all going to have a test. Don't you think people that are making a lot of money would find a way around it? But if you do random testing, where you can go to their gym at any point in time throughout the year, not just training time, but throughout the year, because I mean, you can have guys go on and 2 months before the fight go off, and they're still enhanced, but they don't test positive. So if you're really going to do it right, you can test them any time of the year. Once you sign a contract to be a part of this organization for a 3-fight deal, at any point in time, they can come to your house, they can come to your gym, and they'll test you. If you really want to do it right and clean it up and you have the intention of cleaning it up, that's what you would do. Not going, okay, on June 18th, the night before the fight, we're going to test you. That's a joke. It's a joke, and I think every fighter will tell you that. It's a joke.
Right now, the testing and the cost for the testing are left up to the various state and provincial athletic commissions, and they're always crying poor, saying we don't have the resources to test everyone. Should a company as large as the UFC contribute to the cost of that testing?
Well, if they're not going to pay the fighters, why don't they pay for the testing?
Makes sense. So you think that if they're making all the money off the fighters' backs, that they should be able to reinvest in that testing process?
I believe so. I mean, if they really want it cleaned up, don't look for somebody else to do it, because if they do it, then, either one, the referees are cheating and they screwed somebody over, or they're not fair. But someone along the line in the office is not going to like when someone else does it. So take charge of it and do it yourself. If you really want to clean it up, you got the money to do it. Clean it up.
What did you think of Nevada bringing in the ban against TRT?
And my honest opinion is I think that they should, if they're going to do it, they need to do it right. But my opinion on it is that these things that we use, not the steroids, but the testosterone, the hormones, the growth hormones, there's a level of stuff that you can use that is healthy for your body. That's why they have it. So for people that come back from, nutrition malfunctions or whatever, to put some muscle on, these are things they use medically. They work. As a fighter, year-round, you're putting your body through tremendous strain, and a lot more than a normal average person walking around. So therefore, you need for your body to perform when you want it to, and therefore your body needs to have a quick recovery. And I think there's a certain level that you can use in the hormones, which is healthy, that will bring your body up to a certain level as a high-performance car or a high-performance fighter, bring it up to a certain level to where it is healthy and it is safe. And I think that it's up to the fighters, so that way you don't have to pay for testing like that. It's up to the fighters to have a doctor that will get them on something, and that they will keep their levels at a safe level, and that they would test them, and that they would reform back to the UFC, showing the tests that they do on these guys throughout the year. And it's the fighter's responsibility throughout the year to do these tests and make sure that a certain level. And you also have the random testing, where they could still come in and do a random test just in case they find a doctor that will cheat, which I don't see doctors doing that, risking their career for a fight.
Now, moving back just to the fighter compensation topic for a second, we saw the shot across the bow. Bellator signed Gilbert Melendez to what was termed a very generous offer. UFC did wind up matching it, but do you think now that you've got an organization like Bellator that's willing to make these offers, willing to invest in fighter compensation, that's going to bring the bar up for the rest of the fighters as well, kind of like a rising tide lifts all boats kind of scenario?
Yeah, but I think that I think Bellator is missing the boat too. They have an opportunity with a lot of fighters sitting out there that are famous, that are under no contract with the UFC or anybody else, that they can actually get involved with their organization to help draw fans over, to help get their sport to where it's production, everything's a lot more professional with different types of fighters being there, taking care of fighters that are in the Hall of Fame. This is where the way Bellator can actually move themselves up. But I don't see any move doing that towards that at all. Offering money to Gilbert Melendez for him to come over with that, I think it was a great move, an awesome move. I think UFC knew that they made a mistake, but I don't think Dana White was the one that said, oh, well, let's fix it. I think it was somebody going, wait a minute, you know what, this is a bad move for us because he came in and wanted a raise and he's earned it, and we just basically told him to walk out the door, we don't care. So they had to do some fixing. And so I think it was smart on their part, but I don't think everybody was on board to bring him back, but I think it was very smart for them to do that.
You mentioned that Bellator should be reaching out to more famous fighters that aren't under UFC contract. We did kind of see that with the Fight Master series. They had Frank involved. They had Randy Couture involved. They've signed Tito. They do seem to be moving in that direction.
Absolutely.
Have they had any conversations with the world's most dangerous man?
Absolutely none. No. I went and supported Tito Ortiz with his fight. And when I got there, they didn't even have a seat for me. I had to take somebody else's seat. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe it was just misconnection there or something. I don't know. But I know they intended me to be there, so I don't know what happened. But it is what it is. But I'm just glad that somebody's making a move, trying to get this thing going. And I think Bellator right now has got the, you know, is in the lead right now to actually move up and compete. But, you know, they got to start... It just seems like when they start moving, it seems like there's too much ego involved. Somewhere along the line, no one wants to reach out and try to expand in every direction. You just kind of stay, almost like they got this tunnel vision where they got to get the best fighters. And I think that's a mistake. It's not about getting the best fighters. It's about getting the fighters with the character that draw fans.
Well, we saw recently on Bellator a couple of guys that seem to have that kind of character. Rampage Jackson and King Mo had a little bit of a WWF-style pull-apart in the cage. Obviously, you've got a large pro wrestling background yourself. What did you think of that?
I think when it's done naturally and when it's genuine, I think it's a great place. But I think when everybody tries to do it, there's no meaning to it. I think a lot of guys need to be careful because it's really not their character.
So when you heard a guy from the commission say, yeah, we're not going to make any sanctions because Bellator told us it was going to happen beforehand, you think that kind of takes the reality out of it too much?
Got to be careful, man, because people can smell out fake. And it's got to be real. It's got to be real. And if it's not, I guarantee you the fans are not stupid. They'll smell that out and they'll get upset. Then they're going to start questioning whether the fights are good or not because there's a lot of questionable stoppages. So you don't want to go in that direction, man. You do not want people to start thinking that your organization is doing things that aren't real.
Well, Ken, everyone always knew you were as real as it gets, to use the phrase, and I just want to thank you so much for your time today.
Well, listen, again, like I said, I am real. I say things that are on my mind, and I don't intentionally try to hurt anybody. So,
the legend, Ken Shamrock, here at Battle Arts Academy.